Hello Summoners, Doc McShoddy here. After a small hiatus and back-to-back crystal opening videos, it's time for the next episode of Doc's Tricks. This episode we're going to cover a champion in the game who's not exactly difficult technically to use, but he's got a lot of stuff going on in the background. I'm talking about the mutant hunting nightmare himself, Sentinel. Now, I know a lot of X-Men fans, like myself, were very happy when they were introduced to the game, so let's not waste any time and jump right into it. The first thing to take note of is Sentinel is almost completely reliant on his analysis charges. Sentinel starts every fight with 0 charges, and anytime the opponent repeats an action back to back, such as 2 light attacks in a row, 4 analysis charges are added. This gained amount is cut in half when fighting with a class disadvantage against Cosmic Champs. However, this amount is understandably doubled when fighting against the mutant class type. Analysis charges have a cap of 100. As the fight progresses, Sentinel becomes increasingly stronger with each charge. Special attacks cost 0.25% less energy per charge. At max charge, that's a decrease of 25% energy to use specials. This is flat rate across all rarities and rank levels. In addition, Sentinel's armor rating, critical resistance, and attack all gain moderate stat increases per charge. The boosted amount is reliant on rarity and rank of your Sentinel. Once Sentinel reaches max charges, he gains an analysis complete passive. This creates 3 different effects. First, Sentinel's Special 1 and Special 2 effects will trigger through opponent's blocks. Secondly, while charging a heavy attack, Sentinel becomes unstoppable for just under a second. But if the opponent is under a shock debuff, Sentinel cannot trigger this unstoppable. And lastly, Sentinel's Shock, Incinerate, Heal Block, and Armor Breaks will last twice as long. Before we cover Sentinel's attacks, let's look over its SIG ability. If awakened, anytime Sentinel's opponents activate the same special back-to-back, 20 charges are gained. Let's not forget, this amount is doubled if fighting against a mutant. This allows Sentinel to gain Analysis Complete passive very quickly. Additionally, when awakened, Sentinel will resist power loss effects by 0.3 to 0.8% per charge. This number is dependent on your SIG level and rarity of Sentinel. One thing I forgot to cover in previous tricks videos are the synergies. And when it comes to synergies, Sentinel's selfish. He only cares about himself. Mutant Pursuit synergy reduces the target's attack by 25% when fighting against mutants. Skill Training increases crit resistance when fighting skill champs. Science Research reduces debuff duration effects in half when against science class. Mystic Observation reduces power lock effects in half and generate 50% power when they expire when fighting against mystics. And finally, Tech Advancement. Power reducing effects against Sentinel are 30% less effective when up against tech champs. That covers Sentinel's abilities, but let's go over how it can deal some damage. Let's start with our favorite punching bag before we get into some real fight applications. Sentinel has a 2-hit heavy. This attack will apply a shock debuff lasting 3 seconds. At max charges, this will last 6 seconds and will benefit from the increased attack. Sentinel's Special 1 starts with a single hit repulsor blast, then follows up with multiple hits from his laser beams. This initial hit will apply a 6-second heal block, and each hit from the laser beams have a 50% chance to apply an armor break for 6 seconds as well. Again, if the Analysis Complete passive is active, both debuffs will last twice as long. Next up is the Special 2. Sentinel starts off by rocketing its fist at its opponent, then is followed by 2 double barrage of rockets. Each hit applies an Incinerate on the opponent, dealing a decent amount of energy damage over 3 seconds. You know what's coming, but I'll say it anyways. At 100 charges, each Incinerate will gain double the duration and will benefit from increased attack. And for his final special, Sentinel has 2 tricks up his sleeves, or whatever the equivalent is for robots. For the first use of Special 3, Sentinel will gain a permanent armor up passive. Depending on rarity and rank, this can range from 1200 to just over 1400 additional armor. If Sentinel still has that armor up passive, when it comes time to use that Special 3 again, it will consume the passive and immediately regenerate health. This instant regen is based on health loss, but roughly this regen breaks down to 30% of Sentinel's base health, not including masteries. Now that we've gone over Sentinel's abilities and what the charges can add to the fight, how do we actually gain charges while using him? It's pretty straightforward. If your Sentinel is unduped like my 5-star is, you have to play somewhat passively. I'm actively trying to bait Winter Soldier's attacks here. I'm trying to get him to maybe use a couple light attacks in a row or do multiple dashbacks in a row. If he's just not cooperating, try to get him into a blocking stance like I'm doing right now and hitting into his block 4 times. Just make sure you don't do a combo ender and get yourself caught in the recoil damage. But once you're up to that mark, it's pretty straightforward. The fight's yours. Now you can start doing damage. Alright, going back to my 4-star. This one is awakened fully at Sig 99, and I'm not having to change my playstyle too much. Still, if Winter Soldier is being passive, I'm going to hit into his block as much as possible a few times just to make sure he's getting those repeated actions of blocking and get my charges up. Beyond that, I don't really need to change my playstyle too much. Once Winter Soldier starts using multiple special ones in a row, my charges are just going to shoot up. Do this one a few times actually, and before you know it, you're going to be at 100 charges. He's going to gain all his passive abilities, and then you're just going to dominate the fight. Now let's check out a fight where Sentinel has the full upper hand. This is against Realm of Legends Storm. As I mentioned when describing his abilities, Sentinel is going to gain double the analysis charges when fighting against a mutant class type. Now, I didn't really have to change my playstyle at all during this. Of course, I took advantage when Storm was being passive and blocking to get those free charges. Beyond that, once I get past that first bar of power on Storm, I'm just going to play it slightly casually, bait out a couple specials, and let her get my charges up. I actually almost went this whole fight without having to bait 2 of her specials, but she eventually threw it and it's game over now. That's the overview on Sentinel. Now let's try it out in real fights. Unfortunately, my 5-star isn't awakened, so I'll have to make do with my 4-star. Now, even though it's just a 4-star, my Sentinel was key for me in fully exploring Variant 3. So if you're missing the 5-star but have the 4-star, rank that bad boy up. He's a beast nonetheless. I don't think there's a better fight in-game than the King fight in Variant 3 to show off Sentinel's power. He does have a few benefits from the nodes going on. He's going to gain extra damage per charge. He's going to gain charges faster. And what makes this fight so difficult, unless you have a good champ like Sentinel, is this regen that King has. Every 20 seconds he's going to go back to full health unless you have an incinerate or shock debuff on him. And guess what? Champ can do both. Spoiler alert for this fight, I do not actually one-shot this King, but it was still a good fight and it really showed off how good Sentinel can be once you have his charges up. And niche fights like this where you really need a specific champion. The charges are gained pretty quick. He basically gets double charges, and with this fight I don't need to change my playstyle whatsoever, except when trying to block this stupid regen that he has. Once he pops off a couple specials, analysis is complete, and now it's time to have some fun. Now, if you haven't done this fight, this regen is very tricky, and trying to keep up either incinerates or shock debuffs can be a little tricky. You have to get used to the timing. But with 100% charges and the double duration of the debuff, it's not too bad. You still have to kind of plan it out. And I didn't do the best job here. I kept using my special 2 a little too early, and it kind of made me do a panic heavy, which isn't that big of a deal. Still got the job done, but it just wasn't as clean as I would have liked it to. Beyond that, it's just kind of rinse and repeat with this King. I know when I did my initial clear, I was one-shotting him. It's definitely been a while, and I probably could have practiced a few more times, but unfortunately I don't have access to the content creator program, and I'm using my own resources on this, which I'm trying to save up and get into Act 6.4 and into Abyss, so I'm being kind of stingy with my units right now. But back to the fight, it really is just rinse and repeat, and I just keep using my special 2, try not to get to my special 3. It might have been a good idea because I'm taking a little bit of block damage and going down on my health, but I was more concerned about showcasing the debuffs and trying to block this regen that this King has in Variant 3. I thought about cutting the video of this fight a little bit short, but I wanted to showcase my mistake. With this fight, I got a little scared that the Incinerate were going to last before the regen, and I used a heavy, which pushed him into a special 2. It's evadable, but it always catches me off guard, and I'm dead. For this tricks video, I wanted to show something different. What if you're fighting against a Sentinel and what, you only brought mutants into your team? That's no problem. If you know how Sentinel works, you can do a whole fight without him gaining a single charge. Now this is just a dual target fighting the Kabam Sentinel that you can surge through, and I'm using my 550 rogue here, and it's really straightforward. You just have to pay attention to what you're doing and try to avoid the special one. So when I go in, I'm parrying light, medium attacks. This allows me to not get a single charge. Then you also have to pay attention to your specials. What are you using? I'm alternating between special 2s and special 3. Both with rogue are going to drain his power meter, but I'm not going to get those charges on Sentinel from doing back-to-back specials. So if you can keep this up, be tentative with yourself, you can go the whole fight without actually getting any charges on Sentinel. He's not going to get that added armor. He's not going to get that added crit resistance. He's not going to get that added attack bonus and pummel you to death. So keep this up and the fight's going to be yours. That'll do it for this episode of Doc's Tricks. These have just been a few of the ways that I found to be more efficient while using Sentinel in the game. I'm hoping it helped you guys out and maybe you learned a thing or two about this awesome champ. For the veteran players out there, is there anything I missed about Sentinel, or where are you finding him to be more useful or most useful in the game? Sound off in the comment section below. As well, if you guys enjoyed the video, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Sharing the video will definitely help me continue filling out these champion scripts. To keep updated on new releases, follow me on Twitter. My handle will be down in the description below. I've got a few more tricks videos coming as well. I've got another series in the works, so stay tuned. Doctor's orders.